What is important is that we're building an industry. We're talking about $30 billion of investment, minimum 16,000 jobs, well-paid jobs of the future. So, of course, I'm proud and happy to have been able to attract a company like Nordvolt.
That's Francois Legault yesterday, and that what you just heard there is him talking about where he believes Quebec will eventually end up once all is said and done on investments from companies coming into Quebec, and Quebec and the Canadian governments also giving some cash for those jobs and those investments. The big news, of course, yesterday that we've been hearing about, I think it was 3.5 weeks ago, was the first time on this show that we told you there was going to be a big announcement coming at the end of the month. Of course, we found out what the news was officially yesterday. Swedish EV battery giant Northvolt going to build 30 kilometers east of Montreal a multi-billion-dollar gigafactory for electric vehicle batteries. With more on this, let's go to Flavio Volpe, president at the Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association right here in Canada. Flavio, I know you were there. Tell us why this is a big deal.
Thanks for having me on. And you're right. It was very exciting yesterday. I spoke to Premier Legault after it, and we talked about what Quebec's place is in this electrification of the auto sector around the world. Quebec has an excellent technology corridor for all the different electronic components that go into final batteries, but more importantly, has all of those critical minerals that are required to go into those cells, that go into the modules to power those cars. This is why this amazing company, and I say it's amazing, this company didn't exist 6 years ago, and now it's one of the biggest players in the world in EV battery production out of Sweden. They go into Volvos, they go into BMWs, Scanias, and a whole bunch of others. And they picked the Montreal area, they picked Quebec as their first North American plant and their North American headquarters. It's amazing news.
Having said all that, Flavio, our listeners, there's a tremendous amount of skepticism. It's skepticism over EVs, and listen, I'm a big cheerleader, and I know what's happening in the future, and I know how fast this transition is actually going to happen. Doesn't matter what I know. Our listeners are skeptical. They really are. So, what do you say to someone who's skeptical and hearing $2.7 billion from governments, and they say, no, I want that money spent on hospitals instead?
Well, first of all, I'm a skeptic like you are. I mean, technology changes are difficult. I read about your trials and tribulations with range anxiety, and that's what is keeping people back. But what your listeners should know is every government around the world, without exception, is requiring the car companies to go electric by the 2030s. In this country, we say by 2035. And so the car companies are falling over themselves to have to meet those regulations. And so you sit there and you say, you live in a town like Montreal and you say, okay, I can have a healthy skepticism as a consumer, but if these investments are landing, do I want a piece of them? Do we want the types of jobs that come with it? And it's a $7 billion investment. It's 2.7 from government. The rest is from the company. A lot of people say, we want to spend this, there's a lot of other priorities, and there are. In a complex country like this, there always is. But this is how you pay for hospitals and roads and all those things that are part of the social fabric that we have. You have to have big, healthy industries that churn out production and profits that you can tax. And there is no bigger league than to be in the auto business. And then when you leave the auto business, when they move, like when General Motors used to make Camaros and Firebirds at St. Therese, they leave. It's like trying to find an NHL hockey game at Le Colisée. They don't come back anymore.
Or an Expos game at Olympic Stadium on the anniversary of the last Expos game at Olympic Stadium. It's hard to get it back when it's gone. So let me ask you this, and the clip that we played of Premier Legault coming in from break, he said later on, listen, I'm not going to scoop myself, and the economy minister, Pierre Fitzgibbon, saying we're not going to scoop ourselves. But clearly the indication is there's much more coming. I don't want you to scoop anyone, Flavio, but what can you tell our listeners that you can share about what's going to happen in the next short little while in the similar vein?
Look, Quebec has the same proposition as Ontario in this space, and your listeners will know that 2 major investments like this landed in Ontario, and then 5 major investments in their car makers. All the car makers who make vehicles in North America, and let's say that there's about 15 to 20 of them that need a battery plant of this size, and they all have 2 or 3 plants where they make cars from. They need to land these investments in the next year or 2. We've seen about 3/4 of them land, but I can say that Quebec specifically, as well as Ontario, are on that final shortlist for another 2 or 3. And, if we are fortunate enough to land them, this corridor that will run, really along the highway between these 2 provinces will be the number 1 cluster for batteries and EV manufacturing by volume in North America.
Let's talk jobs here for a second.
Sure.
How much are these jobs paying? What's the salary range? What are the type of jobs that are coming to Quebec because of deals like this?
There's a whole range, and I won't go upstream about how many and what the mining jobs are like or the supplier jobs are like. At a plant like this, you're looking at jobs that are $30, $40, $50 an hour to work on assembling $25,000 batteries. Mm-hmm. You're looking at engineering and design jobs on working on the different applications. So for the different cars they would sell them to, but also the next generation of that battery chemistry. Then you're, especially if this is going to be a regional headquarters, you're looking at all of those marketing and finance and management jobs that pay for the types of houses that exist in a place like Montreal or McMasterville up the street. These are, I think it's transformational employment. It's the type of employment that if you have that income, you can sustain a living in a town as fantastic but as expensive as Montreal and surrounding areas.
Flavio, we're going to have to leave it there. Great catching up with you. Great to see you in the province, and have a great weekend.
I wish the Expos would come back, and if they do, please, somebody tell me how I can help.
Listen, we're working on it. I'll tell you that much. Flavio Volpe is president at the Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association right here in Canada.